Hey, it's Jody Taylor of snackysays.com. Welcome back to my podcast, Storytime. So this story time features gossip or gossiping and what's made me think differently about it. So years and years and years ago, I was watching Oprah Winfrey and she had Tom Cruise on and she said something to him like, "Oh, I heard that your mom and your sister never gossip." It was something like that. And I think since then, I've Googled it and wasn't able to find it. So I think it was Tom Cruise on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And that really struck me at the time. And again, this was a really long time ago. And I had just never thought about gossiping. I never had a conversation around like, well, what do you think about gossiping? I just never heard anyone address it or bring it up. So fast forward, over the years, as I said, it really struck me and it stuck with me. And this isn't going to be a story about how I've never gossiped since then and I don't gossip, but it planted a seed in me. And I am at the point now where I don't gossip for many reasons, and I'll share some of them with you. And maybe it's something to consider. First of all, I tend to almost feel I have like a physical response to gossip, particularly if it's malicious. Like a few years ago now, I heard on a podcast that when you're angry, it actually lasts for something comical, like 30.2 seconds, maybe a minute. But anytime after that, you're really working at it to keep up, to keep that emotion of anger. That's like a form of stress, and in my mind anyway. And that's how I think of gossip. So if you say, very innocently or casually, like, "Oh, I heard so-and-so broke up," for example, that's a statement. Maybe you're just talking about something that happened, someone you go to school with or whatever. But if you continue and you're digging into it and like, when did they break up and why did they break up and where were they? Like, it's just too much. And it makes me queasy. I think at heart, not all the time, but at heart, I like harmony. Like, I don't think it's in my top 3 values, but here in this context, it feels out of sync with the world and with energy and, out of sync with the world doesn't sound like something tangible. It just doesn't feel right. I'll just put it that way. It doesn't feel right to me. So it's that physical feeling of it's a physical and kind of like emotional feeling like, this doesn't feel right. I guess I kind of feel like guilty. And that brings us to number 2. These aren't in order of importance. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. So imagine if that person that you're talking about, whether it's a celebrity or, a family member, if they could hear you. Would you still say the same things? Would you say it the same way? Would you go on and on about it? And then third, what is casual conversation to one person could be a heartbreaking experience to someone else. So, if you have some trauma or tragedy or even like a run of bad luck, I would imagine it doesn't feel good to be the topic of conversation. Fourth, and I've certainly been guilty of this, I think when you gossip and you're talking about other people and what they could be doing differently, that's like, what's that expression, Monday morning quarterback? Mind your business and worry about how you can change your life and things you should be doing in your relationship. When I've done that, and I was guilty of doing this, I'm blessed in that my friends and family are extremely talented people, right? And I'd be like, damn, if I had that much talent, I would be doing A, B, and C. And I realized after some time, you know what? Well, let me try and find out what A, B, and C is. Let me mind my business. And I mentioned this because I think gossip can be a form of distraction or entertainment, right? Like, instead of focusing on how I can improve my life, I was worried about how others could be improving their lives. How does that serve me? It doesn't serve me at all. Of course, it's always good to be supportive of your friends and even maybe push them, you know? If you're into autobiographies or biographies, there's, usually someone, no man is an island, there's usually someone who really believed in the other person and really pushed them or supported them in some way. So there's a place for that. So those are my thoughts on gossiping. And at the heart of it, I think, like, I get it, and again, I'm not like a bastion of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. I was going to say civility, but that doesn't fit. Like Wendy Williams, the Wendy Williams show. I used to love that show, but it would make me feel like, again, that kind of ill at ease, physical discomfort, like, it was just more than a guilty pleasure. And so, even when I didn't have a TV, which is, that's happened on and off over the years because, well, that's another episode, but TVs can be a bit distracting if you have all the channels and stuff like that. But then I had YouTube, and I was watching Wendy every day on YouTube, and I was like, I have to stop. And I quit cold turkey. I also used to read People magazine religiously online, like religiously. And again, I had to stop cold turkey because it's this distraction and entertainment. What the stories that Wendy used to cover and People magazine covered, yes, they had like feel good pieces, but mostly it was like drama, other folks' drama as entertainment, right? And it can be like addictive and attractive. I totally get it, because again, when we are talking about someone else's drama, it can seem like funny and entertaining. But if you just take a second and think like, well, what if this was me? What if this happened to me or someone that I love? I just think, I guess I'll end here. And I just think that there are other ways that we can use our energy. And it's really easy to get caught up. Like, it's not part of my ministry, like Tabitha Brown would say, when it comes on to gossiping. But every once in a while, I'll find myself asking like a follow-up question, like, what? Well, why? Well, why did that happen? And then I might get really upset or emotional, and I start to spin and get caught up in other folks' drama. And again, if it feels gossipy, that means that I'm not talking to the person who it's affecting. I'm talking to someone who heard from someone who heard from someone, or someone who heard, or, it's secondhand. And so even though I may be right in my feelings are right and valid, like, oh, whoa, that was messed up, or what, that happened? I'm getting caught up, and I really have bigger fish to fry, and I have things in my life that I need to work on. And it's just unfair. I think there's definitely 150% a place for if your friend is going through drama and they're telling you directly, or maybe they're happier than a pig in shit, and they're going through the best time in their life. And you're talking to them directly. That is such a good feeling to me. Or even, I'll even say, to me, I guess the difference is, if you're talking about someone and it's malicious, or you find it entertaining, or you're using it as a distraction or entertainment, then it might be gossip. It might be, and the other thing that I didn't mention is, I personally don't like to be laughed at. Who does, right? And so if you find yourself laughing at someone's situation, but in your mind you don't see them also laughing, then maybe you're laughing at them and not with them. So just things to consider. This is something that's been on my mind for a long time. This is something I think about a lot in terms of having conversations with folks. Something to consider is if you can't have a full conversation with someone and not talk about other people, if your conversations are around what's going on in other folks' lives, that's something to maybe look into and wonder why that is. I know I keep saying it, and one more thing, and the last thing I'm going to say is I just wonder, if someone is a yippee yapper and loves to gossip, then what are they saying about you or me, right? When we're not around. And there is, again, a really good place for talking about our friends. Like in a friend group, we're not always going to be together all the time, as long as you're keeping it, well, my rules in my head anyway, keeping it breezy, and like focusing on the good things about that person. Deep conversations about, not even deep, but like conversations about like, oh, well, why is this going on? If you're not going to have it directly with that person, and even then maybe you should mind your business. I don't know. Okay, I'm in danger of rambling, so I really will end it here. I would love to hear your thoughts on gossiping. Am I overthinking it? Is this, have you had an experience where you heard something once and it just stuck with you? Just curious. Yeah, I think, and if you do gossip and you like gossiping, I would challenge you to do a mini challenge, like the next 3 phone calls you get, or the next day, or the next week, like try not gossiping and talking about other things or doing other things, and see how you feel, like how you feel in your body and how you feel emotionally. Or maybe ask yourself what you're getting from gossiping. Maybe you're the next Wendy Williams. I'm not being sarcastic. Like, if you're that good at it, maybe this is your calling and you really need to do something with it. All right. This is Jody Taylor of SnackySays.com. Thank you for listening. As usual, you can contact me at jody@snackysays.com. That's JODDIE @snackysays.com. Thank you.